Welcome to the speaker series on a shot glass of recovery.
Yeah. You get a house, you get a car, then you start thinking that's all you are, but you don't know the truth. So let me spell it out for you. Now I got your attention, now there's a start. Now sit and listen to my favorite part. Life's been giving us some clues. The answer lies inside of you.
Welcome to a shot glass of recovery, the speaker series. I'm your host, Lisa M. This is where we share powerful, real stories from the speakers of AA Solution Seekers Toronto, my home group. People who are living the solution and walking the path of recovery one day at a time. If something you hear here resonates with you, we invite you to show your support by dropping $1 or $2 into our PayPal virtual basket. It helps us keep carrying the message and making these recordings available to others who may need them. Now let's get into today's speaker.
Okay. Good morning, family. My name is Clara. I'm an alcoholic. Today is actually my 400th day of sobriety. So I have been looking at your beautiful faces for 400 days. So I think that's pretty cool. That's a nice round number today. My sobriety date is February 8th of 2025. So I just celebrated my 1 year. And that was actually also my 46th birthday. So there was no, I'm going to go out with a bang and then I'm going to come in. When I came in, I came in. Like I was there. So I'm going to do my best to use up all the time. I've never had this much time to speak and I'm very new at this and you guys are my family. So I'm extra nervous, but thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to give back because what you have given to me is priceless and I can't put a tag on that. So what happened? So I'm 47 years old. Both my parents came from Cuba in the late 50s when Fidel Castro was taking, people's homes and stuff. So my parents came to the States in the late 50s, 59. I am one of 5 siblings. I have a sister and then I have my brothers. Growing up was really, really normal. I live in South Florida and growing up was very, very normal. I had my mom and my dad. No, there was no, I never saw my mom or dad falling over drunk. I didn't see anything like that. I went to, elementary, obviously middle school, high school, graduated high school in 97. That's a long time ago. And went to Florida International University, which is here in Miami. I live in what would be like a suburb of Fort Lauderdale. I actually didn't learn to speak English until I went to elementary school. I was considered ELL or ESOL until I was in 2nd grade. So, I can read and write Spanish, read and speak Spanish fluently. My parents raised us that hard work is the way. You don't ask anybody for anything. You don't need anything. What we supply for you is what it is, and you're thankful for that. And willpower. I always talk about willpower because, give me one second. So willpower was a big thing in our house. You work hard, you get what you're supposed to get. There's no easy, so it's funny to hear what I thought willpower was and how much I had when it came to this disease because I had none and I had never experienced no willpower, whether it was academic, whether it was, training for a marathon, whether it was, doing CrossFit competitions. Like for me, that grit and that push and that willpower has always been something that I would say that I had a lot of. So I went to Florida International and I also went to graduate school there. I moved back home when I graduated. My parents growing up, again, were very, very strict. So, I wasn't allowed to spend the night out. I wasn't allowed to go to my friend's house. I wasn't allowed to go to the movies. I couldn't go to the mall. So I was raised, very much, I would say strict. Like I couldn't wear makeup, things like that. But anyhow, so when I graduated with my graduate degree, I came back home and then a few years later, I met my husband. So I met Jerry. When I met Jerry, I was 29 years old and he was a firefighter for Miami-Dade County. And I would say, from all looks, I had met the person that I was going to spend the rest of my life with. He was someone that I I loved him, I love him so much. And I felt like I had arrived. Like, okay, this is going to be my life. We had four beautiful children. Life is going as life should be going. Everything is, and I always like to talk about my spirituality, when I talk about how it was, because growing up, my parents were, I would ask for something, well, if God, if, see, dice Dios, in God's will. We weren't very churchy going because, of course, my mom did not speak any English. And see, even today, she does not. She's never worked outside of the house. And my dad being man of household. And again, in my parents, the way they raised, man is the head of the household, just very, but he had a soft side, So anyway, so I had a great relationship with my parents. So everything was great. And then March 9th of 2018, at that time, I was a fifth grade teacher. And in my classroom, I can tell you what I had on. I can tell you what I was wearing, and my phone rings. And I answer the phone, and it's one of my really good friends, and she's also a firefighter. So our life was our four children. So today, Lazaro is 20 years old. He's at the University of Central Florida. Then we had Ryan. Ryan is 15 years old. He is a freshman at West Broward here. Great kid, plays basketball, great grades. And then I have a set of twins that are 9 years old today. So we had four kids. The twins were literally 16 months old when I received this phone call. Ryan was 7 and Lazaro was 12. I pick up the phone and it's my friend Jen. And she says, Clara, Jerry collapsed. I need you to go to Westside Hospital. And I'm like, what are you talking about? My husband did not take any type of medication. He did not have cholesterol. He had nothing. He took a multivitamin. So I'm like, he collapsed. What are you talking about? I was so perplexed as to what do you mean? So I slowly pack up my stuff in my classroom and I'm leisurely walking because of course I'm thinking, I don't know what's happening, but there's nothing wrong with Jerry. There's no way, like, I was not worried, guys. So I get in my car and I'm driving. So I live in Broward County. He was a fireman in Dade County. So when I pull up at the airport, listen to me. When I pull up at the hospital, I see like his chief. I see fire trucks from Miami-Dade, and we're out of county. And I'm like, so my best friend walks up, and her husband is also a chief for a fire. So, our fire family, we're very tight. And she walks over, she swings the door open, and she says, Clara, Jerry's not breathing. And I'm like, again, like, so what I'm saying to you at this point, guys, like, and you know me, you guys know me so well. I'm very emotional. I had not a tear. I was so like, huh? I was, I don't know if I should say trauma, but I was so taken. I was like, huh? Like, what are you talking about? And here in Miami-Dade County, because cancer is so prevalent amongst firemen, the month of their birthday, they go to get a physical. So Jerry is Scorpio. He's a November baby. So this is March. So he had his physical just 6 months ago. And I don't know about you, but for me, when I go to the doctor, it's like, yeah, they weigh me. They may take my height. They tell me if I need to lose weight. They never tell you gain weight, right? So they may tell me I need to, so it's very like they may take some blood work and maybe like an EKG real quick. So, my checkups are nothing compared to him. I mean, his would take 3 days. They would do cancer markers. They would go see a cardiologist. So by all means, like, I am so confused as to what you're talking about because my husband is perfectly fine. I so of course now I'm just kind of so I'm looking into the emergency room and all I can see is all of these doctors and nurses running into his room and I can see they're working him and I'm watching and there's blood all over the floor and I'm just like, what is happening? So what had happened was he did collapse and something caused his heart to go into an irregular rhythm and they couldn't get him out of it. He was surrounded with nurses and firemen, and they used the AED machine. I mean, they did everything they could. And because he was a fireman, Davie, which is the city where he was at that time, they worked him for 40 minutes. He truly did not have a pulse for a very long time. So finally they get him stable. He has a heartbeat. I go in the room and I'm looking at him and I'm like, what is happening? Like, I don't understand. So long story short, of course, our fire family's getting there. And we're talking like 60, 70 fire family. Like they're lined up in the hallway, almost like what you see when you see little kids that pass away and they donate their organs, the way they all line up, the nurses, to say their final goodbye as they're donating their organs. That's what was happening. All these firemen are there. Everyone's trying to figure out what's going on. So, and I'm talking to them like I'm talking to you. And this is not me. I mean, I cry for everything. And then I'm like, okay, so I need someone to bring me the boys. They're 12 and 7, and I need someone to bring me the twins. They're 1. So they get there, and at this time they had told me that he was brain dead. He was alive because of the medication and because, but he just had a pulse. Jerry was gone. So I was like, okay, well, and then he started to code. And then I was like, and the doctor said, listen, we will continue to bring him back until you tell us. So, of course, I consulted with my family, our fire family, and they were like, Clara, it's okay. So I said, okay. So in walks in my children, and I look at my 12 and my 7-year-old, and I say, guys, I want you to know that Papi's going to die. And it was just like that. There was no that's just how I said it. I don't know. And I had had no real loss at this time in my life. I was 39 years old. My dad actually passed away after Jerry at the ripe age of 91. So my dad lived a full life. He got to see his grandkids. And just like a tidbit, so when my parents came from Cuba, it's kind of like, this is always what I say at work when we do the icebreaker. 2 truths, 1 lie. So my truth that people always think is a lie is my family actually did the flying trapeze for Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. So my parents, when they came from Cuba, they were the flying Farias. So they traveled the world. So I have pictures of like my dad. My dad was jacked up. He's wearing tights, and my mom is like the sexy thing with the little glitter thing. And then my brothers and my sister did it. But in 1980, my oldest brother passed away. He fell in Phoenix, Arizona. And at that point, my parents retired. So yeah, so going back to that. So yeah, so my kids walk in. I tell them. The twins get there. I lay the twins on his chest, and I'm still just standing there, not a tear. I'm just kind of like watching this. I'm watching my life crumble right before my eyes. Like I am so perplexed as to what these people are talking about. And I said, Laz, Ryan, I want you to know Papi's going to heaven, and I want you to say your goodbyes. And that's what we did. So Ryan and Laz did not wish to stay for us to, take him off life support. So they left. I put Ava and Blake. They walked on him. They were kissing him. They were touching his face because they thought he was sleeping. And then they left. And then we made a big circle around his hospital bed, and we held hands and we said a prayer, and they unplugged him. He didn't last a minute. So March 10th at 6:10 p.m., he had passed. He was gone. And I'm still no tears. I'm still like, okay. So I looked at his fire family and I said to them, I'm leaving. My best friend, Jen, that's a fireman, she said, Clara, I'll go home with you. I said, okay, we're leaving. The kids were not home. Get in the car and we come home. And I woke up March 11th. I was 39 years old. I am now a widow. I have a 12-year-old, a 7-year-old, and twins that are 1. And that's how my life was shaken upside. I didn't understand what was happening. And, for me growing up, we were always told if you're a good person, you do the right thing, you're God-fearing, God will always walk with you. So I'm like, that's bullshit because we're good people. We work hard. I'm an educator. He's a fireman. We do nothing but do service for our communities. He was a wonderful father. He was a good man, a man of his word, straight shooter. Like most first responders, he wasn't about the bullshit. He just shot from the hip and he was gone. We planned his funeral. Again, I did minimal. His funeral was beautiful. It was a full production. You could imagine, I have the pictures of him handing my boys the helmet and my husband's his badge. And so that year, 2018, I did not drink. I did not do anything. I was trying to figure out what was happening to my life. I was trying to find the checkbook. I was trying to see when the taxes are due because the twins were so little. He had kind of taken over the majority of stuff. Obviously, we went from a family of 4 to a family of 6. And I have to tell you, Ava and Blake, I had TMI, but I had been on birth control for 5 years. Like Ava and Blake, I think today was God giving me a gift because he knew that Jerry's time was to go home, honestly, because 5 years and then all of a sudden I'm pregnant and oops, it's two. He was not happy. He cried a lot. So he did. He was like, I'm 44, which now that I'm 47, I don't know what I would do if my wife was like, I'm pregnant. I'd be like, excuse you? So he cried and he cried and he would say, Clara, did you miss a pill? Like he really wanted to know how this happened. And I would say to him, no, which I did not. But so for me, when I look at Ava and Blake today, and both of all my kids, but for me, Ava and Blake were that little gift that God was giving me. So that year after, I was so preoccupied with trying to figure out my life. I was now grocery shopping with a double stroller, which the boys would push it. It was chaos, craziness. So after that year, it really sunk in that he really was not coming back. And then that's when I found this beautiful, I shouldn't say beautiful, it's actually terrorizing number, and that was alcohol. And for me, we were very normal. We would go to parties, we'd have what they had. If they didn't have something we liked, we just went and have. We did not drink during the week. I mean, we were just very normal. And so for me, it started the weekends. I would have a drink of wine or whatever on Friday, and it would just kind of go to maybe Sunday. But again, it was just, again, I wasn't, which I think is the reason I don't have DUIs yet, and I haven't been in jail yet, is because I would drink majority at home because of course I had the kids, and I was married and I wasn't, happy hour. I was always home. So then what started as like Friday to Sunday, a year later was now Wednesday to Sunday. And then it just continued to progress. And then it was, you know, and then as I was seeing this progression in 2019 at the end, it was scaring me. And I have to tell you what scared me in 2020, when I finally came in 2025, I could have for breakfast. For me, alcohol in 6 years brought me to my knees. Absolutely. It took away my ability to be present. It took away my ability to be honest. It took my ability to be the person that I was. I was no longer Clara. Clara was gone. She was not here. So what do? I go online. This is the beginning of 2020. Now COVID is hit, and I go online and I do, of course, the alcohol test. Again, very academically driven. I did not want to get 100, but guess what? I aced that baby 100%. Every question that was on there, I'm going, what am I going to do? And for me, it was so important that everybody around me knew I had my shit together. I want everybody to know that I am okay. I want everybody to know the kids are okay. The house is good. Like, I had this huge chip on my shoulder, my ego, my pride, because I didn't want people to worry about me. My family, and I have a big family. They'd be like, okay, hey, sis, listen, I'm going to come over and I'm going to help you. And I'd be like, I don't want help. I want to figure this out myself. So obviously by 2020, I was really afraid. So I go online, I do the quiz, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to buy a big book. I bought the big book. I read it in one day. I swear to you. And I thought, now what? I really thought if I read the book, that was it. I would be okay. Of course, that's not how that works. So I go online and I find a group, and it's a women's group. And of course, I go on there and I meet my sponsor, Lorraine. And Lorraine was a New Jersey girl, straight from the hip, tells it like it is. And I thought, that lady right there, that's going to be my sponsor. So sure enough, she's like, are you 100% sure that you are willing to commit to this program? And I'm like, oh yeah, let's do it. So sure enough, she's from New Jersey, but at this time she was living in Fort Myers, a few hours from me, no big deal. And she's my sponsor. So I get about 60 days and I'm like, this is not me. I'm not these people. And at the time, I had not had enough pain. That's what it was. I hadn't dug enough. I hadn't had the morning drink. I was hiding, but not, again, it's the kids and I. What are the kids going to know? They're little. The kids don't even read. Like, I'm good. The little ones. So I tell Lorraine, you know what, Lorraine, thank you. But, I'm going to find a sponsor here closer to home. And she's like, you know what, Clara, no problem. So I got rid of everything. I got rid of all my AA book that I had covered in stickers because I didn't want anybody to know that it was an AA book. I threw away all the materials that were sent to me through this group, including Lorraine. I took all the phone numbers out of my phone. I literally said, I'm not an alcoholic. I'm good. No worries. So as you guys know, I continue to dig. I'm digging and I'm digging and I'm digging. So now it's definitely drinking. I had never arrived at work with a drink in my hand, but prior to getting there, soon as I would leave there, the progression was there. It was absolutely there. And it was all that I could think about. I made alcohol a part of everything in my life by the end. Grocery shopping, children's parties, celebrations, honor roll assemblies, evening school functions for me, drinking before a get together, drinking as much as I can at the get together, and then after going, what's next? So 4 years after losing Jerry, I was fortunate to meet an amazing man. And that man is in my life today. His name is Jaime, which in English is Jamie. He is a Marine. He is an amazing soul. When I met him, I was 4 years after Jerry. So I was getting that progression still, but when I met him, I thought, oh my God, like he's okay, so I have to hide this. So of course that's what I did. And I tried to hide and I tried to hide. So something that I'm so thankful for. So today I have 400 days. Jaime has 400 days. Jaime is not one of us by any means of the word. This poor man, I'm telling you, his liver is probably like, thank you, Jesus. Because we would go out and I'd be like, babe, you don't want to drink before? And he's like, no. And I'm like, are you sure? Here, let me make you one and I'll just put it in the car. So, of course, this poor man would drink a drink on the way to wherever we're going. So then we would get there. Mind you, I've double fisted at home. So now I'm feeling super good. So I'm chatty Cathy. I'm ready to dance. And he's like, what in the world? Then we would leave the party. And I'm like, babe, I know what we need to do. Let's go to Total Wine. Come on, well, just so we can have some at home. And he was like, but I'm good. And you know what? Just stop. I'll jump out. So he obviously starts to see the progression. But I say that to share how thankful I am that he has supported me in the way that he has. And for him, it's not a big deal, but for me, it's a huge deal. So we share the same day count, which I think is kind of funny. So I continue to dig and I continue to dig. And then comes March of 2024. So remember, I didn't come in until February of 25. So March of 24, I'm in my house and of course I'd been drinking. So I had gotten to the point where on the weekends, of course, my boys play travel basketball. So travel basketball here in South Florida means I could be in Miami for one game and 3 hours later be in Broward County for another game. So I'm driving. So I would drink. I was an airplane drinker, the little bottles. You would never find a full bottle in my house because I would destroy it. So I would rather go to Walgreens 16 times in a day and buy two of these than buying what I need. And that's literally what I did. So I knew where every liquor store was, where my kids' gyms were. I knew when they opened. I mean, the amount of, those little bags that you put wine in for gifts? If I was to show you the amount of those that I have, you would laugh because they're not going to know I'm an alcoholic. So I would walk into these liquor stores so they wouldn't realize that I'm an alcoholic. What wine would go good with steak? Like, come on. So I would buy the little gift bags as if it was a gift for somebody, but it was for me the whole time. So March of 2024, I am in my house. Of course, I had been drinking all day and I black out and I pass out backwards. And I the back of my head is completely split open. I sit up and thank God Jaime was here and the kids of course are panicked. And I was so selfish that not only did my kids lose their father, but for 6 years they definitely lost their mother. 100%. I was gone. So I sit up and Jaime's like, he's a paramedic as well. And he's like, you have got to go to the hospital. I'm like, I am not. I'm tired. So I went, I laid down. I could have had a brain bleed. I mean, there's a million different things that could have happened to me, but I just wanted to sleep because I didn't care. Woke up the next day. He's like, now we go to urgent care. I get 8 staples in my head. I'm like, eh. Again, still kind of like, I shouldn't have had socks on. I tell the kids not to walk in the house with socks on. That's baloney. Fast forward to July of 2024. Again, in my house, been drinking all day, and I pass out and I black out forward. When I come to, I'm laying in a puddle of blood. I have a cut from here to here on my chin, and I can't move my jaw. So, of course, the kids are absolutely freaking out. Thank God Jaime's here again. He's like, I'm like, I am going to bed. Again, the same exact thing. But then I'm like, I can't talk. Like, I had bilaterally fractured my jaw. So I earned my first ambulance ride. Never been in an ambulance. I was in the hospital for 4 days. I've only been in the hospital to have babies. And thank God with all of them, it was 48 hours, even the twins. 48 hours, they let us go. We're like, what are we supposed to do with these people? So I had never, I had never experienced that. So sure enough, I go in and in walks a specialist that's highly regarded. And he's like 31. I'm like, I could be this kid's mom. So he comes in and he's talking to me and he's like, you're lucky you didn't fracture here because we would have had to put a metal plate. And I go, so what do we do, doc? He goes, all right, so I'm going to have to wire your mouth shut. And I'm thinking, well, that's not a bad thing. I can still drink and I'm going to get skinny. All right, let's do it. Unbeknownst to me, because it was like this, they couldn't knock me out. So he starts taking out all these tools and he takes out a drill. And I mean, like, if you go to your garage and take out a drill, this is what this drill looked like. This did not look like a medical instrument. It didn't. So I go, Doc, you're not going to knock me out? He's like, nope. And I was like, so he took this thing, he opened me up like this. He took a drill with the screw and he drilled straight into my facial bones underneath. And I'm awake. And I'm looking at the doctor do this. And I'm like, of course, I'm in extreme pain. And he zips me, zip, 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 and he wires me shut. So this is, of course, July. I was in the classroom for 19 years, but I'm now an instructional coach for the district, which means I'm basically the lifeline between your administration and your teachers. So administration may say, hey, Clara, can you go to third grade? Because we're looking at their data and their data on these math standards does not look good. Can you please see how we can help? What you can do? Do you need to model a lesson? So now I'm working with teachers. So guess what? School starts in August and I get to come to work and I am presenting to the staff like this. Yes, I sure did. And I didn't give a damn. I drank the entire time that my mouth was wired shut through a straw. I was like, I have arrived. I'm losing weight and I get to keep drinking. This is wonderful. This is what this is what I was thinking. Again, so that was July of 2024. The progression now I do CrossFit. So I wake up probably like 3:50 in the morning. Now it's my routine. I do my prayers, but back then I would go to the gym. So what I would do is I would leave my home and I would go to the gas station. And I was a Grey Goose vodka drinker. So, I would go and I would buy 3 wines, right? Because here in South Florida, you can't go to a liquor store till 9 a.m. So that's okay because guess what? I know the gas station has those little carton wines. I would buy 3 at 3:50 in the morning. Well, probably like 4:30 now because I'm on my way to the gym. I have nothing in my stomach, but pre-workout, I would chug one of those wines. Then I'm walking into a CrossFit facility, and I don't know how many of you have ever done CrossFit. You're doing snatches, you have barbells over your head, and you're doing all this stuff, and I'm drunk. Then coach would send us for a run, and guess where Clara would go? She would go to her car, and she would have the second one. And this that I'm sharing with you, I've shared with very, very few people. And then I would finish the workout, and I would come home and finish the third one on the way, get my kids up for school. So mind you, I'm now, and of course, I'm not buying the singles of the wine. The carton says there's like 3 in there, I believe. So I'm now 9 glasses into wine, and I'm getting my kids up for school, and I'm going to work. So thank God, by January of 2025, that's where I was. And I came home one day, and Jaime looked at me, and he said, Clara, listen, I don't know what's going on. He goes, but I think I do know what's going on. He goes, you need help. And I was like, excuse me? I don't need help. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know my story. And he's like, okay, there's a park 2 miles up the road, and I think you should give that a try. And that was February 8th. That was my birthday. So that was my day one. And that's when this beautiful program started for me. So I immediately called Lorraine, and Lorraine said to me, the only phone number I had, I've been waiting for you. And I'm like, ugh. Like she knew I was going to come back, damn it. So she's like, I am so glad you're here. Okay, so you're not going to drink today. And again, I was beaten, battered. Like I would stand outside with a banana and chew gum and do 10 jumping jacks if you told me that was going to keep me sober. I am now on my hands and knees. I am 100% surrender. I don't care what I need to do. Please just tell me what to do. Lorraine says, Clara, I have great news. There's a solution. And I was like, oh. And she said, and tomorrow morning, we're going to get on Solution Seekers. And that is what we are going to do. So every morning at 7 a.m., I would get on here with Lorraine. So my house at 7 a.m., my house is popping. I have 4 kids, people getting ready for work. I'm getting ready for work. And I'd be in the middle of trying to get ready. And she would text me, I don't see you. And I'm like, scroll down. I'm there. Oh, I see you. Okay, have a great day. And I'm like, so she made me do all these things that I did not want to do. She would text me in the middle of this damn meeting and she would say, Clara, you need to share on what we talked about yesterday. But no, you need to share because people want to hear from newcomers. I'm like, nobody wants to hear from me, especially this group. We have like real sobriety in this group. Like we have people with like years. And sure enough, I would share and I would share and I would share. So, those first 3 months, I was steps 1, 2, and 3 for me, I was there. Lorraine walked me through it. We had so many beautiful conversations. And then I started going to the park. So that's my in-person home room. You guys are my home group as well. And I love and appreciate you all so much. From the moment I came, phone numbers, listening to your shares, listening to your stories. Because what I've learned through this program is I am not special. God did not take Jerry because he wanted to hurt me. That's Jerry's story. It was his time. And what I'm grateful for today is the time that God did grant me with him. I'm grateful for my 4 kids. I'm grateful that they look just like him because I see them in him. So I start the steps. Lorraine's like, okay, I need you to do service. So I was doing service. So slowly but surely, all of this gunk, I always talk about the glasses. And I know obviously you guys have been with me 400 days. My glasses were blacked out. They were black solid. Like I couldn't see through them. They were the wrong prescription. They were completely cracked. I couldn't see anything. So I used Lorraine's eyes to walk me through it. I met Lorraine. So I got my 30-day chip on my husband's anniversary last year. We actually just had his 8th anniversary. And for me, that was like, oh my God, do you know what's coming? For me, it was like a free pass to get even more drunker, if that's even a word. It's not. But that for me was like my pass to be just absurd. And I couldn't do that now. So now all of a sudden, I have feelings and I haven't felt a feeling in 6 years. Now I have all these feelings. I would leave, I would cry with you guys, I would work, and then I would go to my in-person and I would cry. Then I would call Lorraine, poor thing, and cry. So I got all this stuff up. So I met Lorraine on my 93rd day. She was moving back to New Jersey because they had found that her cancer was back. So I surprised her. Jaime was like, babe, let's just go. It's 90 minutes. Let's go. So I show up. She shows up and she's scanning the room and she's like, Clara? I'm like, yes. So I hugged her and it was amazing. So that was my 93rd day. So we continue, of course, with the steps. As I had stated, steps 1, 2, and 3, thank God as our disease is progressive, so is our sobriety. So those for me I was there. I did what she told me. I did service with my home group. Steps 4 and 5. I was like, oh my God. And everyone's always like, it's so scary. It's so scary. And I was like, oh my God. So another thing is I hid the fact that I was in AA from everybody except Jaime. I told everyone that I was in grief share, even my children. And my kids would say, Mom, you're so different. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, wow, Mom, you haven't, like, you're like happy again. You haven't been happy since Puppy died. Like they could see the change in me. And I was just trying to get through and live, but they could see the changes in me. So for step 4, of course, I did my inventory. And then when she told me to go to the end and say my part, I was like, excuse me? I didn't do anything wrong. And of course, Lorraine kindly walked me through and I saw all the things that I had done wrong. And I had done lots of things wrong. When it was time to admit this stuff, she would share what she had experienced. So it opened that door for me and I let it all out. We quickly so she passed away in February. We did steps 1 through 10. And then she said to me, Clara, listen, because when I would call her, we would do work and she would have her eyes closed. I'm assuming from the morphine. She eventually had cancer everywhere. She had a lesion on her brain. She had it in her heart, liver. She was they were just trying to keep her comfortable, but she was adamant. Claire, I'm going to get you through all the steps. Claire, I'm going to get you through all the steps. And I said, Lorraine, if you can't, I'm going to get you through all the steps. Stop it. I was like, okay. So finally we did 1 through 10. I went to New Jersey in December to meet her. For the second time in person, basically to say my goodbyes because they had told me she was dying. So I went and I actually celebrated my 10th month there with her in the hospital. And even at that time, she had no fear. She said to me, Clara, always faith over fear. She goes, you got this. I know that you've got God. I know that you're going to do the work. So one of her best friends is now my sponsor as a tribute to Lorraine. So currently I am done with 11 and, 12 will be next for us. I cannot skip 8 and 9 because that's where my life changed. So I would hide and I wouldn't tell the kids. And the AA is really amazing. All this stuff, the guilt and the shame, it starts to slowly melt away. I never thought that I would be able to tell my kids. And when I made my amends, probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life is to tell my older boys, this is what mama's been doing. And mommy has this amount of time. And they were like, we are so proud of you, mom. And it was like, oh my God. And they were like, that's why you're better again. Oh my God, mom, I knew it. So one of the funny stories is I'm the intergroup rep for my home group. So, me being me, I show up at the intergroup meeting. I sit at the front of the thing. I got my, almost like Casey, like just, this the teacher of this. I have my pad. I'm in the front. I'm ready to rock and roll. In walks in my kid's principal. I wanted to die. If I would have been in the back, I would have snuck out 100%. So she walks in, mind you, she's in my cadre, meaning like when we go to principals meetings with our principal, she's there. Like I know her. Like my son was in first grade, that's 15, when Jerry died. So she knows me, like she knows me. And she looks at me and I'm like, she goes, well, I didn't expect to see you here. And I'm damn it, this service, I knew it. And it's been wonderful having her be a part of my life. She checks on me. When I go to honor roll assemblies, I'm sober, guys. I used to go with at least a little bit of wine in me. And I see her and I hug her. And it's just an amazing gift of this program. So step 8 and 9 for me were amazing. People say you feel lighter. I felt lighter. I do carry a little bit of, I don't walk around with the shirt that says I'm sober since, and I have friends that do, or I'm sober as, all these things, and I'm not there. But if giving up my anonymity will help a person today, I will do it. And that for me is huge. The gifts of this program, I don't know how I will ever repay God, you guys, this beautiful program. I couldn't shower without a drink. I couldn't grocery shop without a drink. There was places in my home that I couldn't sit because it just reminded me either of him or me getting totally trashed. But today, that's not my story. I can sit anywhere in my house and I'm okay. I have peace and serenity. Peace and serenity was one of the scariest feelings. I had no idea weekends were so long. Holy bananas. Like, it's only Saturday? What? What am I supposed to do with all these kids for the next 48 hours? Like, wow. And my God today, guys, wow. So I've heard in these rooms, religion is for people that don't want to go to hell. Spirituality are for those of us that have been there and have clawed our way out. That's me. I get goosebumps. My God today walks before me. God walks with me in his hand. When I'm scared, I pause and I pray. When I feel and I hurt and I cry, I call one of my sisters. I reach out, I stop, and I say a prayer. Guys, that's not me, never been, but I have so much love for this program. And like, I have a life today. The 90 and 90. When they told me 90 and 90, I was like, 90 and 90? What are you kidding me? So I was like, Lorraine, we do an AM. So I'm going to do just the park Monday. She goes, absolutely not. And I was like, and she was such a tough cookie. And I'm so thankful because I don't think I could have a softie. And I'm very obedient. But I was so rebellious. And that wasn't me. It's because I didn't give a damn because I had given it all to alcohol. But now that I am full of love and full of life and full of hope, I was hopeless. Today, my glasses are my prescription. They are crystal clear. I can see everything. When I look outside my home, there's a blue sky and a green grass. I can't tell you the amount of times or years that I didn't see color, guys. And by 9 a.m. when I had that morning drink, I chalked that day up. That day was done for me. I knew that I couldn't drive far. I knew that I couldn't go out with my children. I knew that I wouldn't want to call my family because one of the biggest fears for me was checking that damn cell phone on the next morning. I'd be like, Who's going to Mexico on a girls' trip? I have 4 kids. And then my sister would say, Clara, you're the one that mentioned it. And you said you're getting the flights. Who? What am I supposed to do? Like, just insanity. But that's not my story today. So I just truly want to thank solution seekers. You guys have been a part of my story since truly day one. I love you all. I can't wait to go to Toronto and even Georgia and Kentucky. And you guys have played such a role in my sobriety. And I used to say Zoom was like whatever. Zoom saved my life. You guys saved my life. This program has saved my life. And today, all those sayings that I didn't understand, I live by those. Put your best foot forward, pause, all those things. And I'll end with this. One of the things that I used to hate to hear is or see was that morning at 9 a.m. when I had already had a drink and I call it morning sounds, cars outside, people getting ready for work, kids riding to school. I was so disgusted by that because you know what? I didn't have that. Families in their car with bikes strapped to the back of their car because they're going to the park. I didn't do that stuff. I just isolated and I drank, but no more. The 90 and 90, and you know why the 90 and 90 is so important? Because I created new habits. Duh, Clara. I used to drive by a liquor store like this. Like I used to go there. And now I can drive by them. I can go inside of them. You can enjoy a drink in front of me. And I'm not thinking, when is she going to finish that martini? Does she not see that there's still half left? Like I would leave restaurants like, why aren't they finishing their wine? But again, thank you so much for allowing me to be of service. Thank you for sharing my story. And if I just helped one person today stay sober for another 24, I feel like God has definitely done what he needed to do through me. So I love you all and thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your beautiful group. Thank you.
Just a quick reminder to subscribe, like, or follow if you like the show on any of your favorite listening platforms. If you like the speakers and other content on the podcast, please show us some love by leaving a review and consider making a PayPal contribution to help keep the show going at paypal.me/a shot glass of recovery. Every dollar makes a difference, and we thank you. Our speakers come from my AA home group, AA Solution Seekers. We meet every day at 7 a.m., so pop in sometime and say hello. Until next time, thanks for joining me on A Shot Glass of Recovery.
Everything you do, the answer lies inside you.